I stepped into Technova Systems after a 4-day regional summit in Riverton, feeling lighter than I had in months. Q4 numbers were outstanding. All project deadlines had been met, and I had even secured an extra $75,000 for team training. But as soon as I exited the sky lift, something felt off. The usual Monday morning buzz on the north wing, 4th floor, was gone. The corridor where my team of 7 brilliant engineers worked was eerily silent. "Mira," I called, searching for our lead developer, always the first to arrive. No response. Our workspace, the one we'd earned after delivering 3 breakthrough projects in a row, was empty. Desks were cleared, monitors gone. Even the potted plants we'd nurtured were missing. Only the faint outlines of dust remained where our equipment had once stood. I spotted Caleb Rios from accounting passing by. "What happened to my team?" I asked. His expression shifted into something resembling pity. "You should check lower storage level too. They moved them yesterday." "The basement," I echoed. Technova didn't even have office space there. The ride down in the sky lift felt endless, each passing floor increasing my dread. When the doors finally opened, I navigated through storage areas and maintenance rooms until I found a door with a hastily printed sign, "Engineering Team B." I pushed it open. My team was huddled between exposed pipes and utility boxes. Monitors teetered on folding tables, extension cords snaked across the concrete floor, water dripped from an HVAC pipe, landing in a bucket near Mira's makeshift desk. "What happened?" I asked, though their downcast expressions said it all. Mira looked up, her eyes burning with humiliation. "While you were gone, Victor came down with movers. Said we needed to relocate immediately to make room for the new specialist. We had 40 minutes to pack everything." "A specialist? What specialist? Some productivity expert?" Toby, our youngest developer, added quietly, "Victor says he's going to revolutionize the whole department." I climbed back to our former workspace in the MRI Bright, airy, strategically located between the innovation lab and the prototype studio. Now it was occupied by a single young man arranging framed certificates on what used to be my desk, while Victor, our department head since September 2025, hovered nearby with an expression of unbridled admiration. "Ah, there you are," Victor exclaimed when he saw me. "Meet Axel Cross, our new productivity transformation specialist." His revolutionary approach increased output too, 150% at his last 3 companies. He needs proper space to implement his vision. He lowered his voice. "Your team can manage downstairs until next quarter's budget review." I stared at Axel, who didn't even pause, carefully arranging his awards. I nodded silently and returned to the basement where my team waited. The hum of industrial machinery vibrated through the walls. The spotty Wi-Fi barely reached us. The nearest bathroom was a single toilet behind a shower curtain. The air smelled of mildew and defeat. 28 years with this company," muttered Hal, our hardware specialist, "and this is how they treat us." I surveyed their dejected faces, people who had given everything, pulled countless all-nighters, and met impossible deadlines, now stuffed in a basement like unwanted furniture. Then I smiled calmly. "Pack your bags," I said, "not just for down here. Everything." They stared, confused but trusting. I held their gaze, my smile unwavering. "Trust me. Start quietly gathering anything you might want to take with you someday. And keep this conversation between us." My name is Lena Carlisle, and until that basement moment, I had been the loyal, dependable leader of Engineering Team B for 8 years. Before joining Technova, I spent 15 years coordinating humanitarian logistics across refugee camps on 3 continents. The company had hired me for my technical knowledge, unaware that those years had built global industry relationships and supply chains under impossible conditions. I wasn't just good at solving technical problems. I excelled at solving human ones. I could spot talent in unlikely places and build cohesion among wildly different personalities. Each member of my team was handpicked not just for brilliance, but for their ability to solve problems under extreme pressure. Mira, our lead developer, had been rejected by 3 other companies for her unfiltered communication style before I recognized her genius. Toby, fresh out of college but with an extraordinary eye for elegant solutions, had been overlooked for higher-profile graduates. Hal had been ready to retire when I convinced him his hardware expertise was irreplaceable. Illy, our quietest member, spoke 5 programming languages but struggled with human ones. Nina's testing protocols were industry standard. Samir's security systems were impenetrable. Clara translated technical requirements into language anyone could understand. For 8 years, we delivered excellent results without fanfare. Not the flashiest team, but executives knew we were the ones to call when something impossible needed to be done reliably. 6 months earlier, our longtime department head retired, and Victor arrived with grand ambitions, but zero understanding of our work. From day one, he hunted for a game changer to impress executives, ignoring our consistent results in favor of flashy innovations. His golden hire, Axel, dazzled him with buzzword-filled presentations and promises of revolutionary methods. What Victor never investigated was why someone with such skills changed jobs 3 times in 2 years. For 2 weeks after our basement relocation, we worked in exile. Conditions were abysmal. Temperature fluctuated wildly. Harsh lighting caused headaches. Twice we had to cover equipment during overhead pipe leaks. Yet my team followed instructions, archiving projects, organizing knowledge bases, creating transition guides, while continuing assigned tasks without complaint. I don't understand why we're documenting everything so meticulously. Illy whispered one afternoon. It's not about appreciation. I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Everything we do should be done with integrity, no matter where we do it. They exchanged glances but kept working. They trusted me even if they didn't understand. Then came a call from Gideon Ray's CEO, requesting I present our accomplishments at the upcoming board meeting. Spirits lifted. Finally, recognition. The morning of the presentation, I dressed sharply and reviewed slides under the basement's dim light. As I climbed the stairs to the executive floor, Victor intercepted me. Change of plans, he smirked. The board wants to hear about future innovations, not past performance. Axel will present instead, but Marla Winters specifically requested. I spoke with her this morning. She agrees. My approach makes more sense. His smile didn't reach his eyes. The board needs to hear where we're going, not where we've been. You can return to your workspace. My team deflated when I returned with the news. Toby glanced at her half-written resignation letter. So this is it. We're just giving up. Not yet, I said, voice steady. Keep packing quietly. Later, word spread that Axel's presentation had bombed spectacularly. Board members asked technical questions he couldn't answer, exposing his shallow understanding. Victor attempted damage control, promising our team would implement the concepts despite resistance. That afternoon, Victor visited the basement, suddenly friendly. Good news, we're considering moving you back upstairs to the north wing. Better than the basement, yes, but still a clear demotion from our original space. Message clear, we were still less valuable than the golden hire. Thank you for recognizing our value, I said, surprising my team. Hope flickered. That evening, Toby admitted she had torn up her resignation letter. If we're moving back upstairs, maybe things will improve. I nodded, saying nothing. 2 days later, I invited an old colleague to tour the facility, deliberately timing our arrival on the executive floor when Victor would be showing Axel around to potential clients. Victor called out too loudly, too friendly. Perfect timing. Come meet the Riverton executive team at Gayscale Solutions. They're interested in Axel's productivity system. Victor said eagerly. I approached with my colleague in tow. This is my colleague Talia, I introduced. Victor immediately pushed Talia forward to meet Axel, who launched into his rehearsed transformation pitch. Fascinating approach, Talia said when he finished. You've applied this successfully elsewhere. Absolutely, Axel replied, confidence oozing. My methods boosted efficiency dramatically at my previous companies. Northwest Technologies saw a 250% productivity increase in just 1 quarter. Talia's expression remained cool, measured. Strange, I sit on the board of Northwest Technologies. We never recorded such improvements. In fact, during your tenure, we noted significant project delays. The conference room went silent. Axel's confident smile faltered. There must be some confusion. Victor began, his face flushing. No confusion. I interjected. Talia is here because I accepted her job offer yesterday. I'm bringing my team to establish a new engineering division at her company. We start next Monday. The Gayscale executives shifted uneasily. Axel's confident smile disappeared entirely. You can't take your team. Victor sputtered, that's poaching. It's unethical, completely legal. I finished for him. Check our contracts. No non-compete clauses. You relocated us to a basement with leaking pipes while diverting resources to unproven methods. Talia is offering us double our current salaries and proper working conditions. The board will never, Victor began. The board approved it yesterday. Talia added calmly, after reviewing your division's performance metrics against industry standards. Victor's face cycled through shock, anger, and fear. The Gayscale executives began gathering their things, making excuses to leave. Wait, Victor's voice cracked slightly. The North Wing renovation starts tomorrow. I'll match their salary offers. I looked at him with the same calm smile I'd worn since discovering my team in the basement. Too late, I said. The Gayscale executives filed out, followed by Talia, who told me she'd wait in the lobby. When only Victor, Axel, and I remained, Victor turned on me. Do you have any idea what you've done? He hissed. I've secured my team's future, I replied. Something you failed to do. You've destroyed mine, he said, voice cracking. The board was already questioning Axel's hiring. If your entire team leaves, you chose him over us, I said simply. Actions have consequences. As I turned to leave, Victor grabbed my arm. Please, I made a mistake. I see that now. What will it take for you to stay? I held his hand until he released me. You know what's interesting about my humanitarian work, I said quietly. I learned that true character reveals itself not when things are easy, but in how people treat others when resources are scarce. You showed us exactly who you are when you put us in that basement. I walked out, leaving Victor standing with his golden hire, my footsteps echoing in the empty conference room. What I didn't tell him was that this plan had been in motion long before the basement incident. What he witnessed was only the beginning. Back in lower storage level 2, my team waited anxiously. When I returned, their expressions ranged from hopeful to terrified. Well, Mira asked, unable to contain herself. I closed the door behind me, checking for potential listening devices. A habit from my humanitarian days. It's done. Talia offered us all positions, double our current salaries, proper equipment, and a real office with windows. The silence was deafening. Then Toby let out a whoop that echoed off the concrete walls. Are you serious? Hal asked, disbelief mixed with hope. Completely. I confirmed. Contracts are being drawn up as we speak. We start next Monday. The celebration that followed was quiet but emotional. Hugs exchanged, tears discreetly wiped away. These weren't just colleagues. They were family, forged through late nights, impossible deadlines, and shared successes. I knew you wouldn't leave us in that basement forever, Illy said, squeezing my hand. But how did you pull this off so quickly? I hesitated. It wasn't quick. I've been laying groundwork for months. Months, Samir asked, but the basement thing just happened 2 weeks ago. I perched on the edge of a folding table. The basement was just the final straw. I saw where things were heading the day Victor arrived, talking about fresh perspectives while ignoring our track record. So you've been planning our escape all this time? Nina asked. Not exactly an escape, I corrected. More like an insurance policy. I started documenting everything, our contributions, Victor's dismissals, project successes he took credit for. I reconnected with old contacts, including Talia, to keep options open. When things started deteriorating, those connections became crucial. Illy, always perceptive despite his social awkwardness, studied my face. There's more to this than just finding us new jobs, isn't there? The others turned expectantly. Let's focus on the transition for now, I said carefully. 1 week to wrap up properly. No loose ends, no unfinished projects. We leave with our professional reputations intact. What about Victor? Mira asked, a dangerous edge to her voice. He knows we're leaving, I confirmed. And he's panicking. The board was already questioning Axel's hiring. Losing an entire specialized team in one stroke will raise serious concerns about his leadership. Good, Hal muttered. 28 years, and he sticks me in a basement. What's our strategy for the week? Samir asked, ever the pragmatist. We work professionally, thoroughly, without complaint. I said, document everything meticulously, prepare transition guides, and act with complete integrity. Why? Toby asked, her youth making her direct. Why help them after how they treated us? This isn't about them. I explained, it's about us, about who we are. And because the best revenge isn't what you do to others, it's what you build for yourself. While they exchanged glances, not fully understanding but trusting me nonetheless, I added, there's more. Talia isn't just offering jobs. She's creating a new division with us as the core team. We'll have autonomy to build something from the ground up. The revelation shifted the mood from cautious celebration to genuine excitement. Even Hal, who had been considering retirement before the basement incident, straightened with renewed energy. What are we waiting for? He asked. Let's finish here so we can start the real work there. For the next 3 days, we operated with mechanical precision. Every line of code was commented, every process documented, every system mapped. Our impending freedom fueled productivity far beyond necessity. On the 4th day, Victor appeared in the basement, looking haggard. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his typically pristine shirt was wrinkled. Alina, can we talk privately? He asked, his voice lacking confidence. I glanced at my team, who pretended to be absorbed while straining to listen. Anything you need to say can be said here. We don't have secrets. He shifted uncomfortably. I've spoken with the executive team. They authorized me to offer your entire team a 14% raise, effective immediately. We're also expediting the North Wing renovation. You could be back upstairs by next week. I noticed he didn't mention what would happen to Axel. That's very generous, I said, but we've already signed contracts with Talia. Contracts can be broken. Victor pressed. I'm sure there are clauses. One, there aren't. I interrupted. Talia's legal team made sure of that. Victor's professional veneer cracked slightly. Please, Lena. I admit I made a mistake with the basement situation, but this is going to destroy my career. The board meeting is Friday, and if I have to announce that our entire engineering team resigned, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The basement wasn't a mistake, Victor, I said calmly. It was a revelation. It showed us exactly how much you valued our contributions. You chose Axel's empty promises over our proven results. Now you have to live with that choice. He left without another word, shoulders slumped in defeat. The moment the door closed, my team erupted in whispers. Did you see his face? Nina marveled. 15%. Illy murmured. That's substantially less than double. It's not about the money, Mira said sharply. It's about respect. I let them talk, turning back to my computer to hide my expression. What they didn't know, what I couldn't tell them yet, was that Victor's desperation was exactly what I had been counting on. That evening, as we prepared to leave, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Yane's CEO. I stepped into the hallway. Lena, she began without preamble. I just heard the news from Victor. Is it true your entire team has resigned? Yes, I confirmed. We've accepted positions elsewhere. A long pause. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning. Just you, not your team. 900 a.m. My office. I'll be there. I agreed, then hung up, returning to the basement. 7 pairs of eyes locked on me. The CEO, Mira, guessed. What does she want? A meeting tomorrow. I kept my tone neutral, probably just an exit interview. But are they going to try to stop us from leaving? Toby asked, worry creasing her forehead. They can't, I assured her. Contracts are solid. But as I said it, I knew it was more than that. Yane wasn't the type to conduct exit interviews personally. Whatever she wanted would complicate my carefully constructed plan. For better or worse, I slept poorly that night, rehearsing scenarios in my head. By morning, I had prepared for every possibility except the one that actually occurred. Yane's office occupied the corner of the top floor, with glass walls giving a panoramic view of Riverton. She sat behind a minimalist desk, reading glasses perched on her nose as she reviewed documents. When I entered, she removed her glasses and gestured to the chair across from her. "Lena," she said, tone unreadable. "I appreciate you coming, of course," I replied, taking the seat. She studied me. "I've been reviewing your team's contributions over the past 5 years. Impressive work, consistently delivered with minimal resources." "Thank you. My team is exceptional," I said. "Yes," she agreed, which makes me wonder why they're all leaving simultaneously. The basement relocation seems insufficient as an explanation. I maintained eye contact. It wasn't just the basement. It was what the basement represented. "Explain." When Victor moved us downstairs to make room for Axel, he sent a clear message about our value to the company. The basement was the physical manifestation of how he, and by extension, the company, viewed our worth. Yane leaned back. "And you think I share this view? With respect," I said carefully, "you approved Axel's hiring and the resources allocated to him despite no proven track record. So yes, I assumed you endorsed Victor's approach." To my surprise, she laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Victor convinced the board, not me. I was outvoted, and now I get to say I told you so at tomorrow's meeting." Her expression sobered. "But losing your team is too high a price for being right." She slid a folder across the desk. "This is what I'm prepared to offer to keep your team here, not under Victor, reporting directly to me." I opened the folder and scanned the document inside. The terms were exceptional, better even than Talia's offer. Autonomy, resources, recognition, and compensation reflecting our true value. For the first time since this all began, I felt my resolve waver. "This is everything we deserve," I said silently. "Everything I wanted for my team before Victor arrived. Why now?" I asked aloud. "Why not 6 months ago?" "Politics," she said simply. "The board wanted to give Victor a chance to implement his vision. I couldn't undermine him openly, but this situation changes things. You're using our resignation to consolidate power," I observed. "Mutual benefit, Lena," she replied. "You get what your team deserves. I get to restructure without internal warfare. I need to discuss this with my team," I said, taking the folder, "of course, but I need an answer by end of day. The board meets tomorrow." As I stood to leave, she added, "There's something else you should know. Talia and I have history. This isn't the first time she's recruited from us after disagreements." The implication hung in the air. Was I a pawn in some corporate chess game between Yane and Talia? I returned to the basement, mind racing. My team looked up expectantly. "What happened?" Mira asked. I held up the folder. "Yane wants us to stay. New department, reporting directly to her. Better terms than Talia's offer." The stunned silence was broken by Hal. "She's trying to save face. Maybe," I acknowledged, "or maybe she's sincere. Either way, we need to discuss this." What followed was the most honest conversation we'd ever had. Fears were voiced, hopes articulated, trust questioned. The basement's dim lighting seemed fitting for the shadows we were exploring in our professional lives. "I don't trust them," Indra said firmly. "They only value us now that we're leaving. But building something new here with real support," Kiri countered. "We wouldn't have to start over somewhere else." Ren looked torn. "What about our word to Talia? We signed contracts with exit clauses," I reminded her. "Legally, we can accept Yane's offer." Dax, quiet until now, finally spoke. This decision isn't about what's best professionally. It's about what we can live with personally. All eyes turned to me. What do you think, Lena? You've led us this far. I took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine everything, not just our careers, but the culmination of the plan I'd been crafting for months. I said slowly, we should split up. Shock registered on their faces, not permanently. I clarified strategically. 4 of us accept Yane's offer. 3 go with Talia as planned. We maintain connections, share information, and protect ourselves from being vulnerable to any single employer again. The silence was profound. Then Mira began to laugh. Absolutely brilliant, she said. We become our own network. Neither company can take us for granted again. The tension broke as the team began planning logistics. Who would go where, how we'd coordinate, the potential advantages of inside perspectives at 2 companies. As they talked, I slipped away to make 2 calls, first to Yane, then to Talia. Both were challenging, but by the end, I had secured what we needed. Returning, the team had agreed on who would stay and who would go. I've spoken to both Yane and Talia. I announced they've agreed to our split approach, with one condition: regular collaboration on select projects. And which group will you lead? Illy asked. I smiled. Neither. I'll consult for both teams, dividing my time, building bridges rather than choosing sides. The relief in the room was palpable. We'd found a solution that honored everyone's needs while creating something entirely new. A team that transcended organizational boundaries. As we celebrated our unconventional solution, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Board meeting moved up to tomorrow 9:00 a.m. Victor presenting restructuring plan. Axel featured prominently. Thought you should know. I stared at the message, mind recalculating. This changed everything and nothing. The final phase of my plan would need to happen sooner, but the outcome might be even better than expected. Change of plans, I announced, interrupting the celebration. We need to prepare for tomorrow's board meeting. Why? Hal asked. We've made our decision. Tomorrow isn't just about our future. It's about making sure everyone understands exactly why we're leaving and what they're losing. As I outlined what we needed to do, understanding dawned on their faces. This wasn't just about jobs or escaping a bad situation. It was about changing the system that had devalued us in the first place. By midnight, everything was prepared. As we left the basement, possibly for the last time, Ren asked the question I'd been waiting for. Thea, how long have you really been planning all of this? I looked at my brilliant, loyal team who had trusted me through basement offices and uncertain futures. They deserved the truth, or at least part of it, since the day Victor introduced Axel as the future of the department. I admitted. But what's happening tomorrow? Finola pressed. Justice. I replied simply, and I need you all to trust me one more time. As they nodded, a surge of something powerful hit me. Not just satisfaction at a plan coming together, but absolute certainty that what we were about to do was right. Not just for us, but for every overlooked team, every undervalued contributor, every person who had ever been moved to a metaphorical basement to make way for someone flashier but less substantial. Tomorrow would change everything, and no one, not even my team, knew exactly how. Morning arrived with pale light filtering through the basement's tiny windows. I got there first, dressed in the charcoal suit reserved for the most critical client presentations. As my team trickled in, each looked surprised to see me calmly preparing materials. Ready for today? Finola asked, setting down her bag. More than ready, I replied, handing her a sealed envelope. When the time comes, you'll know what to do with this. The others received similar envelopes, each with specific instructions. They tucked them away without question, the ultimate demonstration of trust. By 8:30, we were making our way to the executive floor. The boardroom doors remained closed, Executives and board members were likely inside, already discussing matters before the official meeting. "Shouldn't we be in there?" Ren whispered, gesturing toward the room. "We weren't invited." I explained, "But don't worry, we will be." At precisely 8:55, Yane's assistant approached. "The CEO requests Engineering Team B join the meeting." Nervous glances passed between my team as we gathered our materials and followed her into the boardroom. The long mahogany table was surrounded by board members in tailored suits, with Yane at the head. Victor sat halfway down, papers spread before him, with Bastion beside him looking unusually subdued. His eyes widened when he saw us enter. He leaned over and whispered something to Bastion, whose complexion drained immediately. "Thank you for joining us," Yane said, gesturing to the empty chairs opposite the board. "I've asked Lena and her team to provide context for some of the proposals we're discussing today." We took our seats. I noticed a familiar face, Dahlia, seated 3 chairs down from Yane, offering me a slight nod. "Now, Victor," I began, "you were about to present your departmental restructuring plan." Victor stood, straightening his tie nervously. "Yes, as you know, our department is undergoing a transformation to align with market demands. The centerpiece of this change is the new productivity methodology pioneered by Bastion, which promises to revolutionize workflow." He clicked through slides full of colorful charts showing impressive upward trends. "Initial implementation has begun, and we project a 200% productivity increase by year end." "Impressive," a board member commented. "And how is the existing engineering team adapting?" Victor hesitated, glancing at us. "There has been some resistance, as expected, but we're addressing it through gradual implementation and resource allocation." "Resource allocation," Yane repeated. "Could you elaborate?" Victor shifted uncomfortably. "We've had to prioritize certain workspace considerations. Some temporary relocation was necessary." "Temporary relocation." Yane's tone was deceptively mild. "Do you mean moving an entire specialized engineering team to the basement?" Board members stirred, frowning as they looked between Victor and us. "It was an interim solution," Victor insisted. "Renovations for proper workspace are already underway." "I see," Yane said. "And these renovations began after you learned the team was resigning, correct?" Victor's face flushed. The timing was. I began, but Yane interrupted, turning to me. "Perhaps you could give the board your perspective." I stood, feeling the weight of every gaze in the room. "Thank you, Yane. Before I begin, I want to clarify. What I'm about to share isn't about personal grievances. It's about systematic issues that threaten this company's future." I turned to my team. They each opened their envelopes and distributed documents to every board member. Victor received his last, his hand trembling slightly. "What you're looking at," I explained, "is a comprehensive analysis of our department's productivity over the past 5 years, including financial allocations and resource distribution. The final pages show projected outcomes based on current management decisions." Board members flipped through the meticulously prepared documents, expressions growing increasingly concerned. "These numbers can't be right," one said, pointing to a section. "This shows a projected 30% decline in deliverables under the new structure." "The numbers are accurate," I confirmed. "Based on the department's own data, the team relocated to the basement was responsible for 78% of successful deliverables last year." "Victor, were you aware of this?" another board member asked sharply. Before he could answer, I continued. "What you may find most interesting is page 12, the background check my team conducted on Bastion." Bastion jumped to his feet. "That's private. You had no right. Every piece of information is publicly available." I cut in calmly. "Court records from wrongful termination lawsuits, class action settlements from previous companies, all public. The point is clear." The room went silent as everyone scanned the pages. Bastion slowly sank back into his chair. "You'll note," I continued, that Bastion's so-called revolutionary methodology has been implemented at 3 companies. All 3 initially showed enthusiasm, then suffered significant productivity declines. 2 no longer exist. The third laid off 40% of its workforce last quarter. Victor's face went from red to ashen. "I wasn't aware," he muttered. "No, you weren't," I said calmly. "You didn't do proper due diligence. You were so focused on finding a flashy game changer, you ignored warning signs and the consistent results your existing team delivered." I addressed the board. "This isn't just about my team being moved to a basement. It's about a management approach that values flash over substance, chasing quick wins at the expense of sustainable growth. Decisions that ignore data in favor of charisma are dangerous for this company." The silence was profound. Even Yane seemed impressed by the thoroughness of our presentation. Finally, the board chair spoke. "Your team has received offers elsewhere. Given what you've shown, I'm not surprised. But why bring this to us now when you're already leaving?" I smiled. "Because I care about this company despite recent events, and because my team and I have proposed an alternative structure that benefits everyone." I nodded to Noor, who distributed a second set of documents. "This proposal splits our team between staying here and joining Talia's company, with collaborative projects bridging the two. It provides stability, preserves institutional knowledge, and could strengthen both companies." Talia spoke for the first time. "I've reviewed this proposal and fully support it. This arrangement would be unprecedented in our industry and potentially revolutionary." The board chair studied the proposal, then looked at Victor. "Where do you fit in this new structure?" Before he could respond, I answered, "That's for the board to decide. Our proposal requires leadership that values substance over style." The chair nodded slowly. "We'll continue this discussion privately. Lena, thank you for your candor. Would you and your team give us the room?" As we gathered our things, Victor finally found his voice. "This is a setup. You've been planning this for months." I met his gaze steadily. "No, Victor. You set this up the moment you decided my team belonged in a basement. I simply made sure everyone understood the consequences of that decision. 3 hours later, my team and I celebrated at a local restaurant with Talia. My phone buzzed. "Victor and Bastion are gone. Board approved your proposal. When can you start as department director?" I showed the message to my team, whose cheers drew curious glances from other diners. I quickly typed my response. "Monday, halftime here, other half with Talia's team." "So that was your plan all along?" Finola asked, eyes wide. "Not just to leave, but to restructure both companies and take Victor's position." "Not exactly," I admitted. "The original plan was simply to secure our team's future, but when I saw how flawed the system was, I realized we had the opportunity to fix it, not just for us, but for everyone who might come after us." "And splitting the team?" Vega asked. "Insurance, no," I explained. "No single employer will ever have complete leverage over us again. We'll always have options." Ren raised her glass to the basement, then here's to it. Without them, none of this would have happened. We laughed and clinked glasses. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building something better from the rubble of their mistakes. 6 months later, our unprecedented arrangement became an industry case study. Collaboration between formerly competing companies increased innovation and reduced burnout. Stock prices for both companies rose significantly. Victor now worked at a much smaller company in a reduced role. Bastion had reinvented himself as a workplace culture consultant, still chasing the next opportunity to sell empty promises. My team, no longer in any basement, occupied bright, airy offices in both companies. Our worth was finally recognized, not just in words but in actions. More importantly, we had created a model that valued substance over style, consistency over charisma, and respect over hierarchy. The most satisfying revenge isn't what you do to those who wronged you. It's creating a world where what they did to you becomes impossible to do to anyone else. If you've ever been undervalued or pushed aside at work, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. And if you enjoyed this tale of workplace justice, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of people turning professional lemons into leadership lemonade.